Welcome back, everybody. So, an interesting proposal we've got here for a new law. It may not happen, still a work in progress, but yes, people have proposed maybe starting school from the age of 5 here in Korea. Again, that would make it similar to my country. But there is a little concern about whether or not this is a good idea. Some parents are up in arms about it. Is it necessary? There is also a proposal that if the kids start a year earlier, maybe they could finish school a year earlier. Could they go to university a year earlier? Could they even start work a year earlier than usual? Sounds a little bit strange to me, but anyway, it's just a proposal at this point. Some people have tried to justify it, saying perhaps we need more people into the labor force. It's a cutthroat environment. Perhaps the younger they get started, the better. But others have said, maybe this is a short-sighted move. Do you really want to be throwing younger and younger people out into the cold, hard reality of the workforce? Yeah. So, yes, many factors to take into account, considering the pros and cons of this potential change.
Yeah. I mean, it's already hard enough for kids as it is. We have heard and directly heard from many students how challenging and competitive school can be from the first day all the way until the end and the Korean SAT test. I did hear college is not as competitive. However, it still has challenges of its own. So these sort of this sort of competition goes into the workplace as well. So, some people may not enjoy the fact that their children may enter this competitive nature 1 year early and still have to live their whole life with it. It doesn't stop when the school stops. It continues into the workplace as well, and trying to get a job and studying for a job and all the certificates you may need, studying English you may need. All this is competitive and stressful. Apparently this is also maybe to close the gap between those who may have the ability to afford a private education, earlier private education for their children, and those who cannot. And so if they lower
this part
it,
I really like.
this part makes sense, more sense.
That if you take the burden off the parents, or the financial burden off the parents, and put it onto the state, that does seem a bit fairer to everyone.
And you know what? Like you said earlier, it felt like play. I think a big criticism of this, as in the article that we saw, was that children cannot have that very, very important, by many expert psychologists, the very important play period. They can't have it. So why not have that play period, move to the school? You don't have to be learning, rote learning of some sort of memorization, mathematical charts, blah, blah. Just have some fun play and learn through that activity.
Yeah, I think, because we have, even before sort of our official government-provided school starts, there's a lot of sort of nursery groups, and often even churches run these sort of like play groups where you can just take your kids, and they've got loads and loads of toys, and it's just meant to give the parents a break from having this to stressfully manage all their children all the time. So,
and then give stimulation to the children, motor skill development, things like that.
Social interaction.
Yeah, exactly. Does this lowering of the age, especially to put more people into the labor force, perhaps, is this a good idea?
I think. No, it's not a good idea. I think we have to cope with the stresses of life early enough already. I think you've got to do it step by step. You've got to get educated. You've got to take your first steps into the world, learn how to be an adult, which is a very complex thing of how to manage your own house, how to cook for yourself, how to do all these, pay your bills and stuff. And throwing you straight out into the workforce even earlier, I think is just too hard, too stressful, too much too soon.
Yeah, and it doesn't. I haven't been able to find any hard numbers on early entrance into the workforce actually making a difference economically. Yeah, so it doesn't seem there's a lot of evidence behind it, but I'm not a researcher. There could be somewhere. Do you guys also think that there is a high level of competition in Korea with the schools and everything? I do think Korean schools are competitive. I mean, I compare myself, the typical education in America, and including me, to the typical education I hear about in Korea, and it is worlds apart. There's a big difference, big competition.
Totally. I think I think my school system, it wasn't the everybody gets a trophy type culture. It wasn't exactly that. But we were competing against ourselves, and we had to do well, and it didn't matter what other kids were doing to us. Your teacher would reward or punish you based on your grade alone, not if you were the top of the class or the bottom of the class.
And let me ask this question, because I'm actually curious. If a teacher gives a test, all right, and for some reason everybody is just real smart that day, and they all ace the test, do they all get A's, or is it separated still?
From my school, they all get A's.
Okay.
We didn't do grading on a curve. To be honest, I don't really understand grading on a curve. I've never done it either myself. I used to teach kids English, and when we did English testing, there's a point system, and if you get enough points, you pass the test. It doesn't matter how well other people speak English; it matters how well you speak English.
That was one aspect of the competitive nature in Korean schools that didn't make sense to me, but I guess it does encourage the students at the top to be extra competitive. But in any case, I was not that competitive because I was homeschooled. So my competition was literally myself, because my brothers were in a different grade. So it was just me, myself, and I competing against me, myself, and I still do that to this day. I'm my own worst critic.
Well, yes, I can't say it made me not compare myself, even though my teachers weren't comparing me to other students. My parents could never understand that. Why was I so competitive with others in terms of grades and stuff when there was nobody pushing me to be that way?
Has it transferred to adulthood?
When it comes to work and academic stuff,
Yeah, okay. I think that's just natural. Yeah.
Not socially, though. I'm not competitive with my friends. Or
No
jealous. We can all do well.
We can all do well.
We can celebrate how great we all are. Let's take a look at the vocabulary we've learned in this unit, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Take a bite out of something.
Take a bite out of something.
Short-sighted.
Short-sighted.
Cutthroat.
Cutthroat.
Coffers.
Coffers.
Exacting.
Exacting.